Hello. In this video, I'll talk about noun phrases and clauses, and how to tell the difference between these things and how to use them in cause and effect phrases. So let's take a look at the parts of this presentation. So I'll talk about what a noun phrase is, next, what is a clause, next, how to change a clause into a noun phrase, fourth, how to change a noun phrase into a clause, and then finally, we'll look at how these noun phrases and clauses are used with different cause and effect phrases. So first of all, what is a noun phrase? A noun phrase is a word or a group of words containing a noun. And these words act as a noun. And remember, a noun can be subject, object, or object of a preposition. So a noun phrase can act as the subject or the object of a sentence. So, some examples of noun phrases. A noun phrase could be just a noun, such as mountain, or an article plus a noun, the mountain, or an article plus an adjective plus a noun, the tallest mountain, or an article plus an adjective plus a noun plus a prepositional phrase, the tallest mountain in Japan. And there are other possibilities too. This is just a few examples. But notice that there is no verb in this phrase. The tallest mountain in Japan, no verb. So this is not a complete sentence. Now let's look at a clause. A clause has a subject and a verb. So the important difference between a clause and a noun phrase, a clause has a verb. And of course, sometimes an object. So in other words, a clause can be a sentence. So all sentences are a clause. So if we look at this example, many people climb the tallest mountain in Japan every year. So it has a subject, it has a verb, and this sentence has an object and adverb, extra information. So this is a clause, a complete sentence. Okay, next we'll talk about how to change a clause into a noun phrase. So this is useful when you're thinking about cause and effect. So what you need to do is remove the verb or change the verb to a noun, but you should keep the same meaning. So how do you change the verb to a noun? There's a few ways. First, you can add a suffix. You can change the form of the verb to the noun, or some verbs have no change between the verb and noun form. And so for this can be quite difficult. So I recommend check your dictionary, check your answer to make sure that your new noun is correct. Check that you made a correct conversion from the verb to a noun. Often this idea of changing a verb to a noun is often called word families. So if you Google word families and type in your word, you can probably find useful information on how to change the part of speech, for example, from noun, verb, adjective, adverb, with all of the words having mostly the same meaning. All right, let's talk about suffixes. So here are some suffixes that are used to change a verb into a noun. So a suffix is something that goes on the end of a word that changes the part of speech or the meaning. First one is ment. For example, develop into development. So develop is a verb, development is a noun. Or argue, same thing, argue, argument. Next is shun, T-I-O-N or just I-O-N, depending on the spelling of the original word, such as invent, invention, discuss, discussion. Or ENC, ence, for example, exist, existence. Again, we have a verb into a noun. And one that's very common and very important is ing. And so this is the gerund form of a verb, which changes it into a noun. For example, run, running. Running is my hobby, something like that. This one is particularly useful. So these are some useful suffixes that you can use to change a verb into a noun. However, for each verb it's different. So remember, check your dictionary or check online resources to make sure that your new word is correct. Alright, some verbs have a completely different form when they change into a noun. They don't use a suffix, instead they just change the root. And again, you can find this information by searching for word families for that word. For example, the verb lose, the noun is loss. Affect, affect. So the pronunciation is the same, but the spelling is different. Succeed, success. And again, check your dictionary. Some verbs do not change from the noun to the verb. In other words, their verb form and their noun form are the same. For example, use, use, work, work, attack, attack, sleep, sleep. So these are verbs that have the same form when used as a noun. Okay, so let's look at some examples of changing a verb into a noun, or changing a clause into a noun phrase. So coronavirus is a serious problem, the serious problem of coronavirus. So this one is a little bit easy because there's just a be verb linking two nouns. Coronavirus equals serious problem, the serious problem of coronavirus. Next, China is developing quickly. So here we have the verb develop. So we need to change this verb into a noun. So develop, we need to use the suffix ment. China's quick development. So again, this clause and this noun phrase have very similar meanings, but the grammar is different. Next, the Giants lost to the Dragons by 1 point. So here we have the verb lose. And so lose is a special verb that changes the root when it becomes a noun. The Giants' 1 point loss to the Dragons. So here, notice in all of these noun phrases, no verb, but the clause has a verb. Let's look at another one. Most of the students worked hard. So here we have the verb work, and work is one of those that is the same as a noun and a verb. The hard work of most of the students. Or we can say most of the students' hard work. The meaning is the same. It doesn't matter which one you choose. All right, now let's talk about changing a noun phrase into a clause. And so we need to add a verb in this case. And so this can be easy and sometimes can be difficult. So here are some common verbs that are often added. Happen, exist, or using there is or there are, have, and be verb is are. So these are useful verbs when you're adding a verb to a noun phrase or creating a sentence from a noun phrase. And so when you're making a clause, it's important to keep the same meaning, but sometimes you have to add a little bit more because a clause has a subject and a verb, so it could have more information. Let's look at some examples of changing a noun phrase into a clause. BTS's dance moves. So we need a verb to this in this sentence. So what verb can we use? Well, let's use have. BTS has a lot of great dance moves. Next, destruction. So for this one, we need to add some ideas probably. So we can make a phrase like this. So we can make a clause. Many homes and businesses were destroyed. So we have this noun, destruction, and we can make a verb from that. So doing the opposite of what we did before. The invention of the internet. So this one is a little bit easier because we can kind of see a subject and a verb in this already. Internet is the subject and invent is the verb. The internet was invented in the late 20th century. So I added some extra information on here. Okay, finally, here is how to use noun phrases and clauses in cause-effect phrases. So I recommend, please pause this video here and take a long moment to look at this chart. So basically there's three types of phrases. Because, so, and therefore, which connect clause and clause. Then there's cause, lead to, result in, and a result of. This is noun phrase and noun phrase. And then there's the third category, because of and due to, and they need both a clause and a noun phrase. So again, I recommend please pause this video and look carefully at this chart. This will be useful for you in today's class activities. Okay, that's the end of this video. So like always, if you have any questions or problems, please send me an email. Good luck.